Hey everyone, I'm the kind of person who spends most of my time worrying about absolutely everything. From whether I forgot to lock my car, to humanity accidentally cooking the entire planet with those spicy little rocks we call radiation. See, nuclear energy sounds super futuristic and clean right up until someone presses the wrong button, or nature decides to throw the biggest Uno reverse card imaginable right in our faces. Today, Omam has rounded up 5 moments when humanity came terrifyingly close to turning Earth into one giant microwave oven. And trust me, this list only gets worse as we go. So mentally prepare yourself, because the number one spot is straight up nightmare material. Number 5. The 3 Mile Island accident in the United States happened on March 28, 1979. Imagine sleeping peacefully at 4 a.m. in Pennsylvania, only for a piece of equipment to malfunction, and then for the operators in Unit 2 to malfunction right along with it by making a series of terrible decisions. The result? The reactor overheated and part of the core melted down. Thankfully, the amount of radiation released was fairly limited, and nobody directly logged out of existence. But it was still enough to send the entire country into full-blown panic mode. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to wake up to police sirens instead of their Starbucks alarm and immediately be told to seal all the windows shut. This still remains the worst commercial nuclear disaster in American history, permanently changing safety regulations. Because apparently humans and insanely complicated machines don't always communicate very well with each other. Number 4. The Windscale disaster in the United Kingdom happened on October 10, 1957. If you thought the accident in America was bad, let's take a quick trip over to our British friends. While busy producing material for nuclear weapons, the reactor caught fire and burned for 3 straight days, releasing a massive amount of iodine 131 into the atmosphere. But here's the wildest part of the story. The British government basically chose to stay completely silent because they were afraid the scandal would ruin a lucrative nuclear deal with the United States. They quietly destroyed contaminated milk supplies, while ordinary people happily poured that same milk over their breakfast cereal every morning, completely unaware they were also getting a complementary side of cancer risk. It took almost 30 years for the truth to fully come out, but for the hundreds of people who later died from cancer, that truth arrived just a little too late. Number 3. The Kishtim disaster in the former Soviet Union on September 29, 1957. This was a level 6 nuclear disaster, and for a long time, it held the record as one of the deadliest nuclear accidents ever. It all started with a chemical explosion inside the radioactive waste storage system at the Mayak nuclear facility. The blast released a massive cloud of radiation across more than 20,000 square kilometers, basically like sprinkling toxic dust over an entire state the size of New Jersey. And honestly, the scariest part is that before all this happened, they had already been casually dumping radioactive waste directly into nearby rivers and lakes, turning Lake Karachay into one of the most contaminated places on Earth. The government evacuated thousands of people and erased dozens of villages from the map without giving anyone a real explanation, like they were playing some horrifying game of hide and seek where the grand prize was simply staying alive. Number 2. The Fukushima disaster in Japan began on March 11, 2011. This was the moment Mother Nature decided to go one versus one against human technology. A massive 9.0 earthquake, followed by a tsunami, completely knocked out the power and cooling systems at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. With no electricity, the cooling systems basically gave up on life, and 3 nuclear reactors suffered full meltdowns before exploding one after another between March 12 and March 15. This was classified as a level 7 disaster, the highest rating on the International Nuclear Event Scale. More than 160,000 people were forced to leave everything behind and evacuate immediately. Fukushima became an expensive reminder that no matter how high your walls are or how advanced your technology seems, nature always has a way of pulling out an Uno reverse card and wiping everything out in seconds. Number 1. The Chernobyl disaster in Ukraine happened on April 26, 1986. This was the final boss, the worst nuclear accident in human history. It all began during a safety test, which sounds painfully ironic, but the test failed catastrophically, triggering a steam explosion that completely destroyed Reactor 4. The explosion released an amount of radiation estimated to be equal to 400 Hiroshima atomic bombs into the atmosphere. Hundreds of firefighters rushed into the burning reactor with little more than basic equipment, without truly understanding what they were facing, and many of them died just days later. Chernobyl permanently turned a massive area into a radioactive dead zone, and it took more than 600,000 people to help clean up the disaster. Even today, the place still feels like a kingdom of ghosts, a terrifying reminder that one small mistake can erase an entire city overnight. So after hearing all of this, do you still completely trust those control panels covered in buttons? Would you actually be willing to live next to a nuclear power plant in exchange for free electricity? Or would you rather live out in the woods where your body doesn't randomly glow in the dark at night? And that's the end of today's story. Alright, I should probably go make dinner now. Honestly, I'm probably just having salad tonight to keep things light. Then again, the real reason is that I can't cook to save my life, so I always go for the easiest possible option. Wait, hold on. What did you eat today? Let me know in the comments so I can shamelessly copy your meal idea next time and finally switch things up a little. Alright, now the story is actually over. Omam says goodbye. See you next time.